Try living on $1,000 a month in America and watch how fast that budget turns into a joke. Rent alone can eat most of it before groceries, your phone bill, or one basic doctor visit. That's why more Black Americans are looking overseas, not for luxury, but for breathing room. Cheap is nice, but friendly is a different question. You can save money overseas and still feel watched, out of place, or priced like every American is rich. So today we're counting down the top 10 Black-friendly countries where you can live around $1,000 a month. This isn't a fantasy list of beaches and cheap apartments. Before we start, please subscribe to the channel to watch more videos. Number 10. Philippines. In Cebu, the first surprise may not be the beach, the mangoes, or the warm weather. It may be realizing that rent, food, and transportation can stop feeling like a monthly emergency. Outside the center of many Philippine cities, a one-bedroom place can run around $187 a month. And basic monthly costs for one person can sit near $516 before rent. That doesn't make the Philippines cheap for every lifestyle, but it does mean a careful person with remote income can build a modest life without needing a luxury paycheck. Cebu, Dumaguete, Davao, and smaller areas outside Metro Manila make more sense for a $1,000 budget than a glossy waterfront condo in the capital. English also changes the move fast. You can talk to a landlord, ask a nurse a question, read signs, order food, and fix normal problems without feeling lost on day one. For a Black American trying life outside the US for the first time, that matters more than people admit. Daily life can feel easier in small ways. You can use Grab, find affordable local meals, talk with neighbors, and meet other expats without needing a full reset. Many newcomers also notice how quickly people help, smile, or start a conversation. A stranger may help with directions. A cashier may laugh with you, and a landlord may actually answer your messages instead of treating you like a problem. That kind of everyday ease can make the first few months feel less stressful. The part that can get tiring is standing out. The Philippines doesn't have a strong Afro-diaspora base, so a Black expat can still be the person people stare at in malls, markets, beaches, and smaller towns. Some people may call you by the name of a Black celebrity, ask awkward questions about your hair, or stare longer than they realize. Most of it won't be meant as hate, but it can still get old when you're just trying to buy shampoo and go home. For a first move out of America, that's not nothing. It just doesn't give you the Black cultural base the higher countries do. Number 9. Belize. In Dangriga, Belize can feel like it understands the assignment before you even unpack. You hear English, then Creole, then Garifuna rhythm, and suddenly this doesn't feel like another cheap country trying to borrow the word friendly. Belize has a real Afro-Caribbean base, with the 2022 census showing Creole people at about 25.2% of the population and Garifuna people at about 4.0%. Black comfort isn't only about whether people smile at tourists. It's about whether Black history, Black food, Black music, Black families, and Black speech already exist without needing a long explanation. For Black Americans, Belize has one huge advantage over many Latin American countries. English is widely used, so the learning curve is softer. You can read a lease, speak with a doctor, ask about bus routes, and talk to neighbors without turning every errand into a Spanish exam. That can make the first few months feel less lonely and less stressful. The cultural fit can show up in normal moments. A Black expat can hear Creole in the street, eat Garifuna food in Dangriga, visit Hopkins, and feel that Caribbean Blackness isn't being staged for tourists. It's already part of the place. The budget, though, needs honesty. Basic monthly costs for one person in Belize can be around $823 before rent, which means a $1,000 lifestyle gets tight fast once housing enters the picture. Cayo, Corozal, parts of Belize City, and inland towns can work better than the beach names everybody knows. Ambergris Caye, San Pedro, Placencia, and pretty tourist areas can make that same budget disappear before you feel settled. Belize works a lot better when you stop pricing it like a vacation. The island version can make $1,000 feel smaller than people expect. For Black Americans who want English and Afro-Caribbean roots in the same place, Belize has real pull. Number 8. Tanzania. Dar es Salaam changes the feeling before it changes the budget. For once, being Black isn't treated like a surprise when you walk into a room, a store, a bus station, or a restaurant. That alone can lower a kind of stress many Black Americans carry without even naming it. Tanzania is a Black majority country, and mainland Tanzania is often described as roughly 99% African. So this isn't a place where Blackness is a tiny side note. It's the normal setting of daily life. That gives Tanzania a different kind of strength from countries that are friendly, but still make a Black expat feel rare. The money side also helps. A single person in Tanzania can see basic monthly costs around $442 before rent, while a one-bedroom outside the city center has been listed around $154 in some cost comparisons. That doesn't mean every apartment is that cheap, and it doesn't mean Zanzibar beach living is suddenly free. Dar es Salaam, Arusha, and Zanzibar each give you a different version of the country. Dar is better for city life and services. Arusha is calmer and closer to nature. Zanzibar is beautiful, but tourist demand can raise the price of almost everything near the areas people post online. For someone with remote income, $1,000 can go much further in Tanzania than it does in many Western cities. A Black American in Dar can shop in Kariakou, take rideshare, learn local markets, and feel less like a symbol and more like a person moving through a Black country. That feeling is powerful, but it doesn't remove the work. English can get you started in Dar. Swahili is what keeps you from overpaying, guessing, and standing there while everyone else understands the joke. Visa costs also matter, with U.S. passport holders often needing a multiple-entry tourist visa that can cost around $100. For anyone tired of being the only Black face in the room, Tanzania changes the feeling fast. It just asks more from you in language, paperwork, and daily adjustment than the price tag suggests. Number 7, Ecuador. Ecuador looks easy when you only check the rent. It gets more complicated when you choose where to live. The rent can be low, the landscapes are beautiful, and the dollar is the currency. And yes, Afro-Ecuadorian culture is real, especially in Esmeraldas, Guayaquil, and Valle del Chota. Afro-Ecuadorians number around 814,495 people, or about 4.8% of the population, which gives Ecuador a real Black presence instead of a forced one. That number may not sound huge next to Brazil or Colombia, but it matters when the topic is not just cheap living. It means a Black expat can find music, food, families, and history connected to African roots inside the country. The budget case is strong. A one-bedroom outside the city center can be around $271, and one inside the center can sit around $365 in some cost comparisons. That makes Ecuador one of the more realistic $1,000 countries on this list if you don't copy an expensive expat lifestyle. Cuenca, Loja, Manta, and safer parts of Quito can give remote workers and retirees a practical base with lower rent, fresh food, and private clinics that cost less than many Americans are used to paying. Everyday life can be simple in the right city. You can rent a modest apartment, buy produce at a local market, use taxis instead of owning a car, and still have money left for phone service and basic health visits. For a Black expat, the smart move may not be running straight to the most Afro-Ecuadorian area. It may be living where safety, rent, and healthcare work first, then building cultural connection through travel and community. Esmeraldas may give you the strongest Black connection in Ecuador. That doesn't mean it's the easiest place to sign a lease first. For the money, Ecuador is one of the easier countries to take seriously. The catch is that the strongest Afro-Ecuadorian areas are not always the easiest places to live first. Number 6, Panama. Panama makes you answer one question fast. Do you want the capital city, or do you want the budget to still work? Panama belongs on this list because its Black history isn't decorative. Afro-Panamanian life runs through Colón, Portobelo, Panama City, and the canal story itself. Some regional data puts Panama's Afro-descendant population around 31.7%, which makes the Black presence much stronger than many people expect. That gives a Black expat something important. You can find Caribbean roots, West Indian history, Black churches, Black families, music, food, and neighborhoods where African ancestry isn't an exotic detail. Panama also has better practical support than many low-cost countries. The roads, banking system, flights, private hospitals, and expat networks can make life feel more stable. For retirees, the Pensionado program has long been one of the biggest draws, with an income requirement often listed around $1,000 a month. That makes Panama feel less like a gamble and more like a place built for people who plan. The cost side needs a hard look. Basic monthly costs for one person can sit around $789 before rent, so Panama City can push a $1,000 budget past the edge very quickly. David, Boquete, Las Tablas, and other interior areas can change the math. They may not give you the same Afro-Caribbean energy as Colón or Panama City, but they may give your bank account a better chance. Panama City is where the math gets rude. The country may work on $1,000, but the capital can act like it never heard that number. Panama gives you Black history, better services, and a clearer way to stay longer. It just stops looking cheap the moment you price life around Panama City. Number 5. Dominican Republic. Santo Domingo can feel warm before you even unpack. The music is loud, the food is familiar in a Caribbean way, the faces cover every shade of brown and black, and the flight from the US doesn't feel like crossing the planet. The Dominican Republic belongs here because Afro-Caribbean life isn't hidden. Some regional data puts the Afro-descendant share around 34.0%, and you can feel African roots in the music, dance, food, language, and everyday rhythm of the country. For Black Americans, that can create a fast sense of recognition. You may not feel like you're entering a place where blackness is rare. You may feel like you're entering a place where blackness is everywhere, even when people don't always name it the way Americans do. The cost can also work if you're careful. Rent outside the center has been estimated around $339.93 in some comparisons, which makes the $1,000 idea possible in Santiago, parts of Santo Domingo, and towns outside the most tourist-heavy areas. Local food, shared transport, small apartments, and neighborhood living can stretch money much further than a U.S. city. The Dominican Republic also gives Black expats a lifestyle that is easy to picture. Morning coffee, a local lunch plate, a short moto ride, music coming from a nearby shop, and a weekend by the coast can all fit into normal life without luxury money. That is why so many people look at the DR as a serious escape route, not just a vacation. The DR can feel familiar fast. Then one comment about skin tone, Haiti, or accent reminds you that Caribbean blackness still comes with its own rules. For culture, rhythm, food, and closeness to the US, the Dominican Republic makes a lot of sense. It just comes with colorism that a travel video should never pretend away. Number 4. Mexico. Mexico is close enough to test without burning your whole life down. That is one of its biggest advantages for Black Americans who want another option but don't want to disappear across the world. A short flight can change the rent pressure, the food budget, the pace of life, and the amount of money you need just to stay afloat. Mexico isn't a Black-centered country, and that needs to be clear. Still, Afro-Mexican history is real. Mexico counted about 2.6 million people who identified as Afro-descendant in 2020, which is around 2% of the population. Those communities are not spread evenly across the whole country. They are more visible in places like Guerrero, Oaxaca, Veracruz, and the Costa Chica region. That means a Black expat in Merida, Mexico City, Guadalajara, or Puebla may not feel surrounded by Black culture, even though African roots exist in the country. The money side depends heavily on the city. A one-bedroom outside the city center has been estimated around 8,675 Mexican pesos a month. But Mexico has become more expensive in the exact places foreigners keep posting online. Mexico City, Playa del Carmen, Tulum, Puerto Vallarta, and parts of Oaxaca can quickly punish anyone who still thinks Mexico is cheap everywhere. A $1,000 budget works better in a modest apartment, away from prime expat zones with local food habits and realistic expectations. For daily life, Mexico gives a strong setup. Food is easy to love. Buses and rideshare help reduce car costs, and flights back to the US are simple. A Black American can test life in Merida for a few months, try Guadalajara for a bigger city feel, or use Puebla for a calmer base without making a permanent leap. In Mexico, the issue isn't always being Black first. Sometimes it's being read as American, which means people assume your wallet is bigger than it is. For a test run outside America, Mexico is hard to beat. It just doesn't give every Black expat the same cultural connection they may find farther down this list. Number 3. Ghana. Accra can welcome the Black diaspora in a way most cheap expat countries never even tried. That is why Ghana sits this high even though it is not the easiest $1,000 country on the list. Ghana has made a direct emotional and political appeal to people of African descent through the year of return and beyond the return. More recently, Ghana granted citizenship to 524 people from the Black diaspora, many of them Black Americans. That is stronger proof than a travel slogan. It shows Ghana didn't just wait for the diaspora to arrive with hotel money. It created an official path, and for many Black Americans, that matters deeply. Daily life can also feel different in a way that is hard to explain until you are there. Black people are in government, business, media, churches, markets, airports, hotels, and every normal space. You are not walking around as the only Black face in the room. You are not explaining why your hair grows the way it does. English also helps because a Black American can handle many daily tasks without starting from zero, and that makes Ghana easier than many countries with lower rent but harder language problems. The budget, though, must be handled carefully. Accra can be expensive, and basic monthly costs for one person have been estimated around $782 before rent. A one-bedroom outside the center of Accra can run around 3,520 cedis in some comparisons. Once rent, food, rides, private healthcare, visa costs, and social life enter the picture, $1,000 in Accra gets tight fast. Kumasi, Cape Coast, Takoradi, Tima, or less trendy areas may give the budget more room. Accra can welcome you emotionally and still charge you, like it knows exactly how badly the diaspora wants to be there. That is not a reason to avoid Ghana, but it is a reason to price the dream before you romanticize it. Ghana gives the black diaspora something deeper than low rent. It just doesn't make Accra cheap, because the welcome feels powerful. Number 2, Brazil. Salvador doesn't need to perform black culture for tourists. It lives with it every day. That is why Brazil belongs near the top of this list. Brazil has one of the largest Afro-descendant populations outside Africa, and the 2022 census counted 45.3% of the population as brown or pardo and 10.2% as black or preto. Together, that creates a scale most countries can't touch. For Black Americans, Brazil can feel different from countries where blackness is treated like a small exception. In Salvador Bahia, African roots show up in food, music, religion, dance, street life, family history, and the faces around you. Acarajé, capoeira, samba reggae, candomblé, pelourinho, and the black history of Bahia give the country a depth that doesn't need a fake inspirational line. That cultural depth is already there, and the cost can also fit the title if you choose carefully. A one-bedroom outside the city center in Brazil has been estimated around 1,257 reais, while Salvador outside the center has been estimated around 1,412 reais. With remote income and a modest lifestyle, $1,000 can work better in Salvador or smaller cities than in prime areas of Rio de Janeiro or São Paulo. Everyday life can be rich without being luxurious. A black expat might rent outside the most expensive neighborhoods, eat local food, use rideshare at night, take Portuguese classes, and build a routine around markets, music, beaches, and community. Brazil gives you culture at street level, not only in a museum or a history tour. Salvador may feel culturally rich, but you still don't move through it carelessly. The phone stays low, the rideshare matters, and local advice isn't optional. Brazil gives you black culture at a scale most countries can't touch. It just demands real street sense because culture and safety are not the same thing. Number 1, Colombia. Cali, Cartagena, Medellin, and Palenque can all sit under the word Colombia, but they don't give a black expat the same life. That is exactly why Colombia takes the top spot. The country gives you options, and Cali brings salsa, black neighborhoods, Pacific influence, and a strong Afro-Colombian current. Cartagena brings Caribbean history, coast, tourism, and visible black culture, even though the tourist zones can get pricey. Palenque gives you one of the strongest black history stories in the Americas. Medellin gives many remote workers better weather, internet, healthcare access, and expat support. That range makes Colombia more usable than many countries that are strong in only one way. Colombia also has a real Afro-descendant presence, even if the official numbers are debated. One major census issue showed the Afro-descendant count dropping from about 4.31 million in 2005 to about 2.98 million in 2018, which raised serious concerns about people being undercounted. That detail matters because black visibility is not only about music and food, it is also about whether a country counts its black population clearly and treats that population as part of the national story. The budget is one of Colombia's biggest strengths. A one-bedroom outside the city center has been estimated around 1,266,459 Colombian pesos, or roughly the mid-$300 range in US dollars depending on exchange rates. Some cost guides put a single person's Colombia budget around $1,000 to $1,400 for rent and daily expenses. That means $1,000 is not a luxury budget, but it is not a joke if you choose the city and neighborhood carefully. A black expat can build a real routine here. Cali may give more Afro-Colombian culture. Medellin may give more convenience. Cartagena may give coastal history, but it can also bring tourist pricing. Colombia rewards people who choose carefully. The wrong neighborhood, the wrong dating app situation, or the wrong late-night decision can erase the cheap rent advantage fast. Colombia wins because it gives black expats more real choices, not because it removes every problem. Pick the wrong city, neighborhood, or lifestyle, and the cheap rent advantage can disappear fast. A country being cheap doesn't automatically make it good for black expats. and a country having black culture doesn't automatically make it easy to live there on $1,000 a month. The best move depends on the city, neighborhood, visa, clinic, language, rent, and how much patience you have for starting over. Philippines gives a first step. Belize gives Afro-Caribbean roots. Tanzania gives a black majority setting, while Ecuador gives low cost with careful city choices. Panama gives structure, and the Dominican Republic gives culture with hard racial questions. Mexico gives the easiest test run, while Ghana gives diaspora belonging. Brazil gives black cultural scale, and Colombia gives the best overall balance. If you had to leave America and live on $1,000 a month, which country would you actually choose? Drop your answer in the comments and subscribe for more honest relocation countdowns.